So, Wayne, you actually texted Skip about this conversation that we had last week when we talked about this on the show. So what's your take?
It's interesting. First of all, it's interesting. I guess it shows a different Dez to me, first of all. And within what he said, the mind my own business type of thing, he kind of not minding his business with the statement after that. But, I mean, if you want to look into it, I believe everybody leads by example within themselves. Everybody individually leads their own life. I mean, everybody can't be a football player. Everybody can't be successful as, him or I or whatever. But I mean, if you're trying to motivate someone to, do better or whatever it is, you do that to, you meet that person and you sit down with them if you think that they need some kind of motivation. I don't think that you can. I mean, if you're looking at, I don't think you're supposed to look at someone and say we're not doing this or we're not doing that, and that this and that is the right thing or right or wrong. I mean, I believe everybody leads by example just by being themselves.
When I commented on his post, he said that I was putting words in his mouth, and what I was trying to do was put facts and knowledge in his mind, because you said it. Everybody can't be a Dez.
Exactly.
Everybody can't be a Lil Wayne. Everybody can't be a prominent African-American figure. Then what? That's what I'm like, okay, this is not conjecture. This is not innuendo. This is not speculation. This is fact. Black, white commit crimes. Blacks and minorities are more apt to get a harsher sentence than the white counterpart. When the crack, this was before your time, but you've heard about it, the crack epidemic that swept through the major cities. They came up with mandatory minimums. If you got caught with this was the minimum amount of time you could do. They came up also with the 3 strikes. So if we caught you 3 times, you're going away for life. Now they have the opiate addiction. They're sweeping through the Rust Belt. And they say punishment, jail, confinement is not the answer. It's about counseling. Because who is it that affecting? So, look, I don't have a problem. If you want to speak up, read up. Because, look, we don't have to get in the Dez past, but he had an incident with his mom. If Dez Bryant could not catch footballs, did not play for the Dallas Cowboys, Wayne, where would Dez have been? So he gets preferential treatment. Dez, that's what I'm trying to get you to understand. There are fewer of us, myself, Shannon Sharpe, Lil Waynes, and Dez Bryant. We make up a very, very small part of the majority of the African Americans.
Exactly.
If there's 40 million blacks in America, maybe 2,000, 3,000 of them are prominent athletes.
Which is what percent? Like less than 1?
Very less. Because if 10% is 4 million, 1% is what? 400,000.
Exactly.
So it ain't 400,000 black African Americans or people of color, however you want to address it, making millions and millions of dollars in America. So, Dez, that's all I'm trying to get you to understand. I need you to understand the history, the systemic, and and all I said. And I asked him. I said, "Look, I want you to come on. We want you to come on the show. But before you come on, read the DOJ report about Ferguson, Missouri, Chicago, Illinois, and Baltimore, Maryland, their police department, and how it specifically said these policies was racially motivated to hurt blacks and minorities in this community. And then we can have the honest conversation. That's all I was trying to do. Put facts, thoughts, knowledge in your mind so you can articulate your point a little better. And I said, look, you're quoting someone. I have the utmost respect for Charles when it comes to his basketball games. I think he was a hell of a player. But when it comes to this race thing, then this what's going on in this systemic racism and the history of racism in America with whites and blacks and minorities in America, I ain't quoting Charles Barkley, and I don't want anyone to quote him.
So I appreciate everything you just said, but I'm also with Wayne on the first point, which is what I told you the day after this was posted. And that is, Dez has been, dare I say, immature in his time with the Dallas Cowboys. He seems like he hasn't quite grown up. And this was a big step, I thought, toward just trying to be a man, just trying to have a deeper thought than running a fly pattern, right? Where, as I said to you, the Dez I know or have known in the past would post the top 10 nightclubs in Dallas, Texas, you know, and instead he posted some thoughts that are pressing on my heart, he said. Well, they're baby step thoughts, but he's trying to have a social conscience and a racial conscience, and he's trying to figure it out, but he's doing it on Instagram. So he's doing it right before your very eyes. And he hasn't had to think about these things because he has been a very good football player since he was like 5 years old. So
Exactly.
he's been treated very well all the way up the ladder.
Very differently.
And he's been given some leeway others would not have been given. And there have been other incidents other than the incident with his
Yeah, we
mom
know.
in Dallas.
But we don't have to go all in depth with that.
All right, but he's been blessed in a lot
Yes.
of ways. And I feel like there's a part of you that feels like he just doesn't get it because he's a wealthy, famous pro football player, right? And he just, but he's trying to get it, which is why I really wanted him to come and sit where Wayne is sitting right now, just to go back and forth with you, because I think it could be productive.
Hell, he
I
could have
think-
came and sat next to Wayne while Wayne was on here, and we could have all discussed it.
Well, that would work too. That might even be better.
The thing is that when you look at race in America, and I was a criminal justice major, so I'm very familiar with this. The criminal justice system is set up, and this is not conjecture again, this is fact. If you're wealthy and you're in the majority, the justice system is like cobwebs. You can brush it aside because the more money you have, the better representation you can get. But when you're indigent and you're a minority, it's treated like shackles. You're held more accountable because a guy that has to go to a public DA is not gonna get the same level of justice. Now, it shouldn't be this way, but this is the way it is. You get what you pay for. And since the state is paying for these funded lawyers, they're not gonna give me the same representation as Jose Baez. They're not gonna give me the same representation as, God rest his soul, Johnny Cochran or Jerry Spence, or I can't get an appellate lawyer like Alan Dershowitz. I can't hire the innocent. Maybe if I'm lucky, the Innocence Projects will read something that I say and they'll take it pro bono. But more times than not, if you are a minority, if you are a African American or a person of color, you're judged entirely
No, I
different,
got it.
Dez.
Any final thoughts from you?
It's also like it's also like you're telling someone that they're not leading by example. And I mean, what if that person have kids? Person like me, and like you said, everybody can't rap. So, am I leading by example because I became a rapper? I mean, because I still go through it.
Right.
I just got out of jail. You know what I mean? So I still go through it. So am I leading by example? Or are you telling me that I'm not? When I have 4 kids, and I mean, they all know who daddy is, and they all know daddy is great to them, and I'm everything to them. So I'm quite sure everybody else have kids, and they should be the same, and that's leading by example.